I never thought being a night watchman at an art gallery would involve much beyond walking endless halls and maybe scaring off a drunk who'd confused the revolving doors for a toilet stall. But Pelwick Specialists, an oddly ornate gallery tucked between weathered brick buildings in the less traveled part of town, wasn't exactly standard. It had its peculiarities, and its night shifts came with rules. The old guard, Keith, a weathered fellow with laughter lines sketched deep into his face, handed them to me on a creased piece of paper. "Follow them to the letter," he'd said, the low, serious undertone of his voice contrasting with his usual jovial chatter about sports and the clatter of the local diner's greasy spoons. The first rule seemed easy enough: never leave the lobby's lights off, even during the day. I figured it was probably a safety thing, no big deal. I flicked those lights on during my first rounds, noting how the bulbs hummed like a soft pulse through the dead quiet. The galleries, once bathed in light, showcased a strange array of sculptures, twisted metal, abstract forms that cast long, labyrinthine shadows. The second day on the job, I met the cleaning lady, Mags, a feisty woman with a cigarette permanently dangling from her lips, though I never actually saw her light it. "Honey, this is more than just a gallery. Watch those shadows, I swear they move," she laughed, her voice raspy, a sound half lost beneath the echoes of her mop bucket clattering along behind her. Laughable except after Mags left, the shadows felt off, as if they lingered with intent. And there was a faint scent of tobacco in rooms she hadn't cleaned yet, a small detail that shouldn't matter, but did. The third rule kicked in my second week: ignore any whispering from the East Wing after midnight. Now, whispering paintings are good for a campfire tale, but in the creeping chill of post-midnight hours, when the whole building seemed to inhale and exhale around me, it wasn't so easy to dismiss. I'd walk faster past the East Wing, telling myself the hushed murmurs were just drafts weaving through the gaps in the old wooden floors. Rule 4 got weirder. If you find a painting that you don't remember seeing before, report it. Do not look at it directly for too long. The night I spotted the Weeping Monk, a canvas engulfed by thick strokes of black and gray portraying a crying figure in robes, it wasn't just the newness that gnawed at me. It was the fact that, from the corner of my eye, I could have sworn I saw the tears glimmer, wet and fresh. The fifth and final rule, pasted at the bottom of the list in bold, as if Keith had used up all his ink emphasizing it, read: "Stay out of the basement storage room. No reasons given." The door was always locked anyway, but sometimes I heard something like a thump from down the stairs leading to it, like something heavy being dropped or something falling down. Tonight, something gone sideways. It's around 2 a.m. and the lobby lights flickered out. That never happens. The backup generator should have kicked in, but it's quiet. Too quiet. I'm standing here in this sudden, dreadful dark trying to decide whether to brave the basement for the emergency generator or the security room for the cameras, my gut twisting at the thought of what could be in the darkness. But then there's a sound. Not from the basement or any part of the gallery you'd think. It's coming from behind me, inside the locked janitor's closet, an urgent, scraping sound, like a desperate, unseen hand clawing for freedom. And I can't help it. I edge closer. My hand reaches for the doorknob. It's ice cold, bitingly so, as if warning me off. But I turn it anyway, compelled by a fear, by a rule unlisted, an unwritten rule that's creepily clear: discover what lurks behind. The rusty hinges groaned as I nudged the door open. It screamed of disuse, like a crypt sealed for decades. The air that washed over me was dank, filled with the stale whispers of decay. Every instinct clamored for retreat, yet my feet inched forward, betraying my primal urges. Yellowed wallpaper, peeling like sunburnt skin, lined the narrow hallway that stretched out before me. It was barely illuminated by the flickering light of a bulb hanging from a cobwebbed ceiling. The floorboards creaked under my weight, each step an agony of sound in the pressing silence. Somewhere, far deeper in the house, a floorboard answered back. Not the echo of my own steps, but a soft, deliberate creak. Someone or something was mirroring me. I paused, listening to my own heavy breathing, trying to smooth it into silence. Another creak, closer this time. My heart skipped, then hammered. The hallway seemed to constrict, the shadows stretching towards me like fingers craving warmth. With every ounce of courage drained from my limbs, I forced myself onwards, one reluctant step at a time. The air grew colder, the chill seeping into my bones. My breath materialized in small puffs of vapor, swirling briefly before dissolving into the dank air. The light at the end of the hallway, my only beacon, flickered again, threatening to plunge me into darkness. Just as I reached the midpoint of the corridor, the light bulb succumbed with a pop, leaving me swathed in shadows. Panic surged, primal and raw. My eyes strained against the darkness, desperate for any shape or form. And that was when I heard it, a soft, mournful wail that rose from the end of the hall. It was not human, not exactly. It carried a sorrow so profound that my own heart seemed to ache in response. I fumbled in my pocket for my phone, its flashlight a paltry weapon against such engulfing blackness. But before I could activate it, a sound halted me. Soft, whispering, almost loving, my name drawn out into a languid sigh. Ella. Frozen, I managed to shine the light ahead just as the whisper faded. The beam cut through the darkness, revealing nothing but an empty corridor. But the walls, they weren't just peeling. They were moving, squirming under what looked like gnarled faces pushed out from within, mouths agape as if frozen mid-scream. With my mind careening between denial and terror, I stumbled forward, drawn inexplicably towards the source of my name. The end of the hall approached, a door slightly ajar, beyond it darkness that seemed even more dense, more absolute. As I reached for the doorknob, another whisper of my name halted my motion. This one was behind me, close enough to feel the breath on my neck. I spun, flashlight darting wildly. Nothing. The corridor behind me lay empty and silent. Sweat beaded on my forehead, my hands trembling so violently that the beam of light danced like a specter in front of me. I turned back to the door, opening it with a reckless urgency. Beyond lay a small room, empty except for a singular, disturbingly familiar object, an antique mirror standing defiantly in the center. Approaching the mirror, my reflection seemed odd. My eyes, were they always that hollow, that full of shadows? Then, movement flickered at the edges of my vision within the mirror. I watched, horror-bound, as my reflection smirked, a subtle, terrifying curl of its lips before it stepped out of the frame. I stumbled back, crashing against the door which thudded shut with an irreversible finality. My phone clattered to the floor, its light extinguishing upon impact, surrendering me to darkness once more. The last thing I heard, a throaty whisper right beside my ear, blurred the lines between my sanity and the encroaching madness. "Never alone, Ella." And the mirror laughed, a sound both alien and intimate as the darkness pulsed around me, alive with unnamed horrors. The mirror's laughter echoed, chilling and unworldly, wrapping itself around me like a second skin. I dared not move, my feet cold and glued to the worn wooden floorboards of the attic, heart pounding a desperate rhythm against my ribs. The darkness seemed to thicken, becoming almost palpable, as if I could reach out and touch the velvety black that engulfed everything but the silvered glass before me. Strands of my hair fluttered around my face, an inexplicable breeze stirring in the airless room. The mirror continued to laugh, low and mocking, and as I watched, transfixed, the silvered surface began to ripple like the surface of a disturbed pond. I should have run, screamed, done anything, but what I did stay. But there it was, the unnerving curiosity that gnawed at my insides, rooting me to the spot even as every instinct screamed to flee. My breath fogged in the chill that descended, the temperature dropping with unnatural swiftness. The mirror's surface stilled, and from within its depths, a figure began to materialize. It was a slow, horrifying crawl into existence. A woman, her features eerily familiar yet grotesquely distorted, like reflections in a funhouse mirror. Her eyes were too wide, her smile too sharp, and where there should have been color, there was only gray. "Come closer," she whispered, her voice a serpentine hiss that filled the room. It was an order wrapped in velvet, compelling and repulsive all at once. My body betrayed me then, moving of its own accord, each step towards the mirror feeling like a descent into madness. Her smile widened, impossibly large, as I drew nearer. I stopped inches from the glass, my breath mingling with the chill that emanated from her form. Her eyes locked onto mine, and I was caught, a deer in the headlights of an oncoming vehicle, too terrified to look away, although everything in me screamed to break eye contact. "You're not real," I muttered, voice trembling. Her smile faltered for an instant, a crack in her otherwise impassive demeanor. It was enough to fuel a flicker of courage, shaky and weak though it was. "But I am," she replied, her voice silken and smooth, caressing each neuron as it fired in terror. "More real than you can imagine." As she spoke, her hands reached towards me, fingers elongated and tapering into claws. I recoiled, stumbling backward, my heel catching on an uneven board. I tumbled to the ground, the impact jarring through me, breath whooshing out in a painful gust. When I looked up, gasping for air, the woman in the mirror was changing, her form twisting, becoming more fluid, more terrifying. Her face elongated, jaw unhinging like a snake, as she prepared to consume me from the inside out. I scrambled backward, palms scraping against rough wood, every move spurred by primal terror. "Stay with me," she hissed, her voice no longer beautiful, now a grotesque echo that bounced off the attic walls. Her hands, those terrible, clawed things, scraped the glass from the inside, as if she intended to carve her way through to my world. In desperation, I seized the nearest object, a dusty, old book, and hurled it at the mirror with a guttural scream. The glass shattered with a satisfying crash, fragments flying like deadly rain, the silver-backed pieces reflecting nothing but dark. Silence crashed down in the wake of destruction. I panted, eyes wide, scanning the broken shards that littered the floor. No sign of the woman, no laughter, just shards of glass and a feeling of fragile victory. Shakily, I pushed myself to my feet, heart still threatening to burst, and backed away from the wreckage. But as I moved, a small, unnervingly familiar giggle danced through the darkness, an oral specter that pricked at my nerves. My blood froze. From the larger piece of the shattered mirror, a distorted eye watched me, unblinking and gleaming with malice. Cold dread settled in my stomach as I realized the truth. Breaking the mirror hadn't freed me. It had unleashed her. As the giggle rose into a crescendo, the attic air grew thick again, charged with imminent horror, and somewhere in the dark, something whispered my name. Unable to process the request,